Hello. An increasing number of people are contacting us and inquiring as to what an NHS England appeal panel is and the due process around it. So the purpose of today's video blog is to talk generally about this and hopefully answer any queries that you have. Now, NHS England are the overreaching body supervising and ensuring that, in theory, the national framework for continuing healthcare funding, as created by the Department of Health, is correctly implemented and adhered to by the local clinical commissioning groups spread around England that deal with continuing healthcare funding in their particular area. Now, NHS England appeal panels will only occur once, in essence, an element of last resort, I suppose is the best way to look at it. The clinical commissioning group are responsible for instigating and undertaking the checklist assessment, and if an individual passes that checklist, then implementing and adhering to a full decision support tool assessment. If an individual is entitled to the funding, then it will be provided at that stage. If they are denied the funding, the patient and all their representatives have an opportunity to appeal that decision if they disagree with the outcome. Now, the basis for disagreeing with an outcome is twofold. One, on the basis that incorrect procedure was followed, and secondly, that the incorrect decision on eligibility based upon the fact the patient does not have a health need primarily was reached. And clearly, in order to be able to do that, you have to challenge the rationale given against the evidence available. Now, and a case does not immediately go forward to an NHS England appeal, but rather you must first exhaust the local level appeal process conducted by the clinical commissioning group. Ordinarily, this would and should consist of, at first, a local resolution meeting, followed by an independent local level panel appeal hearing. Dealing first with the local resolution meeting. In essence, that is an opportunity for the local clinical commissioning group continuing healthcare team to sit down with the patient or their representatives and have an opportunity to justify and explain their rationale for a negative award of funding and listen to the considerations and views put forward by the family or their patient as to why they should be entitled to the funding. In the best case scenario, if matters have been overlooked, you would expect the clinical commissioning group to reconsider the decision, if not being able to overturn the matter, perhaps refer it back to the clinical commissioning group for further discussion and clarification. Secondly, leading on from a local resolution meeting, if an outcome that's satisfactory to the family has not been reached, they have the option of taking matters to a local level independent appeal. Now, this should be independent in the way it's conducted, and the best case scenario for the process would be to mirror that as carried out by NHS England, whereby there is a truly independent chairperson, an independent nurse looking at matters from a clinical perspective, and an independent social worker looking at matters from a social care perspective. Very often, unfortunately, this isn't the case due to resources available and perhaps indeed policies adopted by the particular clinical commissioning group. And it may well not be truly independent in the NHS England interpretation of an independent panel. That panel should have the authority to overturn the original decision if indeed they are presented with a case that warrants doing so. And then if they stick to the original negative decision, the next recourse available for the individual is to ask NHS England to consider matters. Now, to be clear, NHS England will only look at and consider a case when the local level clinical commissioning group process has been exhausted. You must adhere to and complete every stage of the process to the full extent, or NHS England will not consider the case. Now, the process for securing an NHS England independent appeal hearing is to request so in writing, as set out by the outcome letter of the final local level appeal process, and NHS England will ask you to complete an application form and set out your rationale and justification for needing an independent panel. When the panel is convened, as and when it is convened, you would expect there to be an independent chairperson who would ordinarily be from someone outside the NHS entirely, an independent out of area, which is the crucial factor, social worker and nurse, looking at matters from a clinical and local authority perspective. Normally there would be a representative from NHS England present in an administrative capacity rather than being a panel member with a voting right, if you like. And finally, you would expect there to be a representative from the clinical commissioning group itself. Sometimes there can be an independent clinical advisor available to give a view or explain medical matters should the panel have any questions that need to be raised in relation to clinical issues. Now, the panel at NHS England level generally will take very good care of the individual there on the day to ensure that they have ample opportunity to raise concerns that they have in relation to any procedural issues, and a full opportunity to go through what areas they wish to challenge and present the evidence upon which they are basing their position to do so. Having had an opportunity to present their case, the panel will then retire away from the representatives from the clinical commissioning group and the family / patient, and they will come back to the family normally within 4 to 6 weeks in writing, setting out their rationale and justification for their decision. Once again, NHS England do have the authority to recommend to the clinical commissioning group that they overturn that initial decision, and that funding is provided from the date of the DST in question up to the date of the next assessment. Now, that is the process in a nutshell. If you have any questions in relation to continuing healthcare funding in the appeal sense, or indeed at any aspect at any stage, you should not hesitate to contact us directly for a free, no obligation and strictly confidential discussion. We offer this service by telephone, where you can speak to one of our experts on 0121 227 8940. Alternatively, you may wish to look at our website, which is www.continuinghealthcare.co.uk, where you can submit an assessment online, and one of our experts will get back to you at a convenient time. Thank you.